Been a long, long way to go. Between the end of Feb and mid-March, we started getting cancellations from festivals, started getting cancellations from conferences, you know. And one of the veteran artists that I work with, you know, he actually said something that made me so sad. He said in 30 years of his career, this is the first time ashota ngemali yesinkwa. Hello everybody, the name is Max-Hoba. I'm a South African international Afro-soul musician, producer, label owner, voiceover artist and scriptwriter.
Hi there, I am Motsatsing Ntsamai, but more popularly known as DJ Mofire. I am a DJ, I'm a club DJ, I'm a radio DJ, so I'm a radio host as well. I'm a voiceover artist. As you can hear, my voice sounds like honey.
My name is Tubati Mpomoloi. I'd like to introduce myself, and I'm with Olani Kush, I'm Charlie. And we are part of the Urban Village Music.
How the COVID-19 lockdown has affected us as most artists that perform internationally, I think it came in so gradually, but at the same time, in such a short space of time, it was so quick, you know, like within a month. I remember between the end of Feb and mid-March, we started getting cancellations from festivals, started getting cancellations from conferences, you know. And I remember I was supposed to do the US on the 12th of March, doing South by Southwest. And a couple of days before we were to leave, we're told, no, South by South is cancelled.
We've had plans, you know. What happened is a couple of months before COVID, we had recorded an album with a French record label called No Format. And we had a nice lineup, a rollout as to how we're going to roll out the whole thing with EPs, videos, and the album, which everything was supposed to happen in March. But then our president came onto the news with my fellow citizens, you know, and letting us know exactly that as citizens, this is what we need to, you know, focus on, and everything is going to come to a halt. So I'm just going to easily say a lot of our plans, you know, were like cancelled.
You know, the lockdown at first was a bit scary because it meant a lot of things. At that time for me, like a month before the lockdown, I had quit. I kind of dabble in the film industry because, you know, art is a little bit difficult to make money. And I was in the film industry just to get by. But it's not my passion, it's not what I like, it's not what I enjoy, but it pays the bills, you know? And a month before the lockdown, I quit my day job at a production house, quite a big production house actually, just before they started a very big production. And at the time, you know, my things were popping. I had gigs left, right, and center. My voiceover gigs were coming through as well, and I was making a living from that. And I decided this is the time. This is now time for me to quit everything that is not what I want to do and be more deliberate in what I want to do, you know. And then next thing, a month later, bam, all my gigs started getting canceled. All my voiceovers started getting canceled. Everything started getting canceled. But I believe firmly in the idea and the philosophy that as an artist, it is our responsibility to sort of uplift people, inspire people, make people feel better about themselves. You know, and I'm glad that when time was very, very tough and when my income streams were sort of cut, I still needed to remember that first and foremost, I am an artist and I've got a way bigger responsibility than feeding my kids even, you know. But it's my job to sort of uplift and encourage people and make them feel like it's okay, we're fine, everybody calm down.
a lot of our plans, you know, were like cancelled. And over and above as a band, but just as creatives and musicians, you know, we were faced with a bit of a tough kind of a challenge. And that sort of disrupted a lot. But I can also safely say that, you know, during this process, we've learned a couple of things, because you have to always be on your toes and try and come up with different ways, which is the internet, you know, adapting, and which is, we were all pushed to do work online, and which is something else that is not really, but that has given us an opportunity to come up with different ways and different things to do, and we still have our plans going forward, eh?
Yeah, things are still rolling out forward, but there were so many tours that were cancelled in the interim. I mean, the tours were going to Reunion Islands and festivals. I mean, when you've calculated all that, you make your plan and you say, okay, so these 2 months are already booked out for this thing. And only for all that to come to shambles. Now you have to reroute everything.
I'm covered for rent for
You
2
know,
months,
yeah,
I'm
you know,
covered for,
exactly.
and then you had to
Then
go
you-
back
you
and
have to reroute everything.
hustle it a different way.
Then, you know, because our art is mainly performance art. And it's actually just the whole gathering is how we actually work this thing out.
Yes, I am aware of the relief grant from the Department of Arts, and there's a lot of other relief grants that are going around, right? But specifically with the one from the Arts Department, the first run, I honestly didn't apply because I kind of knew what's going to happen, you know, and not in a bad way, but I kind of knew. So when the second wave came, I was like, okay, here's another chance. Let me do it. Dingabi ngaba bantu bazokhalaza beme ngaphandle kwebhasi akhalaza udriver kaqhuba igrand, yabo. And I applied, yabo. And my only wish is that I just wish that it could have been done in a slightly different way. For example, my thought is most musicians that are recording musicians are actually on the database of Sambro, they're on the database of Sampra, they are on the database of Capasso. Those are the composers, right? Now, you take all these three and you put together that entire database and you say, from this database, Sauchong Ubani, belong api. If someone is a member of all three, you know, but you count them as one. Yeah, then you just give people a stipend equally. Yes, there are artists that are going to complain that, no, but I usually make 250 million a month, and this guy only makes 10,000. Akoko wena, ayomale yakho le.
At the beginning of the lockdown, kind of like those first stages of the lockdown, I know that there were grants that were put out there. But I was put off by the 350. Because now I'm not going to apply for 350, first of all. The application process of 350 costs me more than except going to go fetch the 350. That's me traveling to go fetch the 350. That's me waiting for the train. Waiting also, it's time, it's money. I'm waiting, that you're costing me by waiting for this 350. So even if there were other grants, because it was such a silly amount, I automatically just decided without even checking that it was going to be a silly amount. That's not going to change my life. I don't want anything that's going to change my life for like 2 minutes, you know. So if it does come out again, or if there is one right now that is running, I want to say I want it, but I don't.
What grant? No one got anything. No one said anything about getting any money. Because my question will be, who must get paid and who mustn't get paid? Like, how do you then categorize people and decide which these ones need to get? How many DJs are there? How many artists are there? So how much is the government going to cough out?
It's not easy, Joe, to think creatively on a hungry stomach, so umdala. At a younger age, yeah, it's cool. Because you have to get yours, it's your hustle, you da, 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 da. But when you have responsibilities and family and all that, and then you have all these things getting cancelled on you, and then you have this grant that you are applying for that is not certain, and then you hear that 15 people got the grant, and then 35,000 people didn't even know about the grant. So there's an issue here with communicating this thing properly, you know. Also, yeah, because of forms, because of forms, let's not do this thing of trying to get people to apply for these grants as if they're applying for a tender. Simplify this thing, you know?
Can they first also, if they're putting people as leaders in the art space, can those people have some type of knowledge of the art space? Because I find that they're going to take the ex-minister of housing and make them a minister of the arts. You don't know jack shit about the arts. What are you going to fix? You don't know what our issues are. And I find that, you know, the government has got all these wonderful solutions, but they don't know what our problems are. So they don't listen to us in the first place. So the first thing is to listen. You know, listen to what people actually need and want. We think we know. I think I know what you want. I don't know what you want. I can just have an idea of what I think you want, and that's a problem. So before you even come up with solutions, you need to understand what the challenges are and what those problems are before you can come and be MacGyver.
Online works, and this is where we see that the adaptability comes in, where if you're going to adapt, it means that even going future, you still have people and still go online. So it made us aware of how we can actually always have cameras in order, good sound in order, so that even your shows become documented in a much proper way. But so that also people that are not in your geographic location can actually catch the show in a very similar way, you know. So the adapting of the online thing has actually helped us as well. It has actually morphed all the artists as well to morph into that form of world.
And just to add on what Colin is saying, you know, I'm going to be practical about it. There's a up and down to the whole thing, you know. But majority in this whole situation with COVID, it's predominantly a down, you know. But we've been given opportunities to do. Not everyone can do this because everyone has to be at home. So when you're doing shows in a proper studio where, you know, you can see your audience on the screen, whether it's a Zoom, whatever process that we've been given. And like, I'd be doing a show at Nyrox, someone from Kuruman cannot come to Nyrox, you know, but you can see that person on the screen and that person is in his living room, but they still see the show. But what I personally, you know, like our music is energy driven. How we perform the song always changes versus what it's like on the actual album. And some songs are stretched out because of the energy in the room. You know, things like encore, or you'd hit this note and someone would go, wow, or scream or whatever. And that will make you like also, you know, try and repeat the whole thing, but like it's, our music is really energy driven, and because of that energy, it is important that we always have an audience or play our music for an audience, because also our music, besides energy driven, it's a very, very spiritual kind of thing that we are sharing with our people, you know, it's a journey that we're sharing.
You know, performing to a camera is different to performing to an audience, because an audience automatically gives you energy, you know, whereas if it's the camera, you kind of have to pretend that the people are there. But they've been there, and I feel like there were more there during the lockdown than they actually are. Because without the lockdown, there's so many parties. People have a choice. They're spoiled for choice. Whereas now that I've gone online during the time when there was hard lockdown, they had nothing to do. Imagine no one was going to work, no one was going to school, no one was going to checker, nobody was going to, like, everybody had their attention on you. And that's really one of the things that I really appreciate. And also just appreciate that the fact that I had Wi-Fi. You know, I took it for granted that we are all okay also. Not that it was a bad thing, taking it for granted, but it is a blessing. You know, and it's one of the things that I had to learn during this time, that all of this is a blessing. Even the fact that people are sitting down for a change and listening to you for a change because they've got nowhere else to go. So I gained a bigger audience because I had more attention, way more attention than I had before the lockdown.
I think it requires a lot of mental preparedness from a performer point of view. You know, remember, as performers, we rely a lot on energies that we interchange with our audiences, right? Now, if there's no audience, for example, you can't say, "Are you there?" You can't. You know, so, "Are you there?" You know, but at the same time, it also gives us a newfound way of doing things, you know, a new approach of saying, I will have this audience in my head. I will fill up these chairs engqondweni yami, and I will have as much fun as possible, because at the end of the day, people enjoy your performance because you are enjoying what you are doing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Open up the country. Open up the country. Open up the theaters. Open up the festivals. We're tired to performing to empty seats. We're tired of performing to electricity. We're tired of performing to the internet. Open up the country.